Good evening and welcome to the June 12th, 2023 meeting of the Florissant City Council. If we can all please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Ms. Goodwin, if you can, please do the roll call. Oh, I'm sorry. Already messing up.
Harris.
Here.
Manganelli.
Here.
Egan is absent. Caputa.
Here.
Childroff.
Here.
Pagano.
Here.
Pagano. Here. Parson.
Present.
Siam.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to the meeting minutes for May the 22nd or the executive session meeting minutes for May 22nd and May the 25th? Hearing none, Councilman Siam moves to approve the minutes, seconded by Councilwoman Pagano. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting minutes are approved. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the hearing from citizens. And we have a couple cards here. This is your time to speak to the council on any issue not necessarily on the agenda for 3 minutes. This is not a question and answer period, so if you would like to speak to any council member or the mayor, please stay until after the meeting is over to have that opportunity. If you're here to speak on a public hearing, please wait and speak when the public hearing is announced. Our first card that we have is Miss Mary Carol Doyle. You may come forward. Please state your name and address for the record.
Mary Carol Doyle, 1140 Preakness Lane, Ward 8. Good evening. I'm proposing to the Florissant City Council the following for possible ordinances or laws regarding rental properties to ensure consistent property management among all the owners, single owners, and property management companies, both local and absentee. 1. All owners of rental companies abide by the same code outlining what the owners and what the renters are responsible for in the maintenance of the property. 2. All owners of rental properties be required to visit and inspect their properties regularly, every 6 months. First, to ensure their homes are in safe repair, then taking care of any interior and exterior issues for which they are responsible. Second, to ensure that the occupants are maintaining the property properly and respectfully. Owners then file required paperwork with the City of Florissant after each inspection. 3, the City of Florissant conducts required full property inspections, front and back, at least yearly, along with the regular drive-by ones, to ensure that rental property owners are indeed keeping the property up to code and safe, and that the renters are maintaining homes, yards, and waste management as per their responsibilities. 4, the City of Florissant guarantees the anonymity of any resident calling to report problems with properties. Enacting such clear expectations would guarantee that rental properties would positively contribute to the safety, appearance, and welcoming attitudes of Florissant. In closing, and for the record, I emphasize that many private owners and some rental companies, along with many of our renters, are doing our city proud. The rest need to follow suit. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doyle. Next, we have a card from Mr. Lou Gerald. However, he's here to speak on one of the public hearings, so we will allow you to speak during that time. Okay, Mr. Gerald? All right. The next item on the agenda is communications, of which there are none. Next, we have on the agenda public hearings. Public hearing number 2305011.
In accordance with Section 405-135 of the Florissant zoning code, a public hearing will be held by the City Council of Florissant, Missouri in the council chambers at 955 Rue St. Francois on Monday, June 12, 2023 at 7 p.m. on the following proposition. To rezone the property located at 1 Flower Valley Shopping Center from B3 Extensive Business District to B5 Planned Commercial District to allow for a car wash, Brightworks. Citizens will have an opportunity to be heard. Anyone with special needs should contact the city clerk at least 5 days before said public hearing by calling 839-7630 or email kgoodwin@florissantnorth.com.
All right, obviously our petitioner is here and present, so you may go ahead with your presentation. Sir.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Camp. I'm with Civil and Environmental Consultants on behalf of Wallace Companies, who's the owner of the property. So tonight we're here to have our public hearing to ask your approval of the rezoning of really the purple shaded area here on this plan. I was hopeful to just kind of give you a little bit of background about Brightworks itself. It's thinking about it. And also the development in its as proposed. So we are requesting a B5 zoning, and as you guys are well aware, inside the code, this is kind of the site-specific site, the property being assigned a zoning classification as written and presented and tied to a particular plan. Originally, Wallace did pursue purchasing a small portion of this parcel, which is where the development is right now. Through some back and forth with the former owner, they ended up buying the entire parcel, and so that's why we're here today. The intent is still to develop the Brightworks car wash itself, and then have the rest of the parcel available for redevelopment. What that may be is going to be is kind of how the market would dictate what goes there. There's been many conversations with city staff and my client to try to figure some things out, but we wanted to go ahead and proceed with this first lot. And because it's a B5, we know in time, as those users may come forward, that would then be back in front of the council for an amendment to this B5. So a little bit about Brightworks. We do, the one is operated here in Florissant. Proud to call it the first one that they did. But there is a Grow with Flow video that was done here just a couple of years ago that I thought gives a lot of answers.
Hi, I'm Scott Holland with Brightworks Car Washery in Florissant, Missouri. I'm the Director of Operations. We're located at 475 North Highway 67, right next to Goodwill. Brightworks is an express exterior tunnel. Customers stay in their car, ride through, car gets clean while you're inside the vehicle, and then you pull around to our free vacuums. We have 26 vacuums available for you to come, whether you wash your car or not.
Hi, I'm Andrew Latz, and I'm the site manager here at Brightworks in Florissant, Missouri. Okay, so we have our $7 basic wash, then we have our $10 deluxe wash, we have our $14 premium wash, then lastly we have our $18 works wash. So what makes our wash unique is that we use a belt as opposed to the steel conveyor, so you don't have to worry about scratching your rims, or you don't have that pressure or that uneasiness of pulling in. Our car wash uses closed cellulose foam wraps, and the only brush that you will find in the tunnel is the tire shine application. Another thing that sets us apart is our app, Brightworks. So with the app, you can buy our monthly unlimited plans as well as individual washes or the wash book. So when you visit us in the cashier lane, we accept cash, all credit card payments, as well as Apple Pay and Google Pay. Another benefit to our app is that we have a loyalty program. Every wash that you buy, you build points, and after every 5th wash purchase, the 6th one's free. You also gain points by being a member, and loyalty points are involved with that as well. Our hours of operation are Monday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Find us on the web at brightworks.com or follow us on Facebook. Our phone number is 314-395-6081.
And I'll just go ahead and, I pulled that up, just one, that this was the first wash that Brightworks built. And there's been several iterations and new locations that have come since then. This has been on the radar for them to try to get a second wash here in the city for some time. And so they are very excited about this opportunity. Kind of zooming in here a little bit on the details of the site itself. So there we go. So the site is going to be arranged similar to the facility that's already on Lindbergh, several miles down the road. It's going to have 3 lanes to pay. Again, the most outside lane is going to be signed as the unlimited wash members. That middle lane will accept credit cards, and then the lane closest to the building is that where there'll be an attendant there, somebody to greet you and pay cash and those types of things, sign up for memberships, things like that. It does then consolidate into a single tunnel, and then those free vacuums that are also there at Florissant will be available upon the exit as well. In trying to work through some of the nuances of the overall property, we're proposing a new full access entrance just kind of near where that island begins along. Thank you. You knew what I needed. So that full access and will help facilitate not only getting traffic more spread out throughout the entrances on the overall parcel, but could help that egress along those paths as well. And then also opens up greater opportunities for the options that could go on the surrounding land that will be remaining after the Brightworks is developed. With that, there's not a ton of other details. We did kind of work through some of the typical planning and zoning type of items as we went a couple times with them, and did take feedback and kind of make some adjustments to that. I probably don't need to enumerate all those for you guys, but be happy to answer any questions. With me tonight is Mark Jordan with Wallace Companies. He primarily will be able to present any of the questions about the overall real estate and any of those nuances. And then several folks from the Brightworks team are here as well. Scott, who runs the division of Brightworks, as well as a couple folks that I guess now are stars that you saw in the video. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, now we'll turn it over to the council for a few questions. Councilman Tommy Siam.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for coming tonight, Mr. Camp. I just have a few questions for you. My first question is, are you going to own that entire parcel that's shaded in purple there? Are you going to be responsible for that entire thing?
Okay, so currently the parcel is owned by Wallace Companies. The long-term intent is that remain flexible for various users to either purchase or if there's lease options, those kind of things. The intent is that the entire purple area will be redeveloped. And what those users are, Wallace is in the gas station and car wash business, but more than happy to entertain how the rest of that parcel is either divided, leased, built, and that.
Okay. Well, I guess the reason why I was asking is, I mean, that parking lot has a real problem with people throwing litter around and stuff like that. Is it possible that, I mean, are you guys going to be responsible for keeping the parking lot clean, or is it something you'd be willing to help with? Or
Absolutely.
I'm not sure
I think Mark can probably speak more detailed about it, but even so far has been patching some, now that they own it, which is only a newer type of thing. They have made some improvements to some of the pavement. They've been doing some of those things, and ultimately once this starts to develop, the hope is that they'll be there all the time. So.
Okay, that would be great and much appreciated. And I'm not sure if you touched on this and I missed it, but are you going to pave a part of that grassy area between the car wash and the Mod Pizza to allow some people to enter and exit from there since it's hard to access from Newhalls Ferry?
Right. And that is part of the overall discussion about how the rest of this comes together. I will say I did mention early that Wallace had an interest in buying a small portion of this to begin with when it was owned by Seritage. At that time, we did make efforts to work with the property owners of the Mod Pizza, Aspen Dental, to try to get some cross-access worked out to help some of that traffic flow. At that point, and this was a couple of years ago, they were not interested because and there's no right of access between the Purple and the Mod Pizza and the Aspen Dental. That agreement is only between that small little triangle and that. So in the efforts to help the rest of that go, it is on the radar to try to facilitate that. And you'll notice on the drawings, we did provide some conceptual ideas about how that exactly would tie in. And it really depends on what kind of user ends up in that kind of area too.
Okay, but so it sounds like it hasn't really been fully determined yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Well, we'll see, I guess. But the last question I had, and kind of the most important, was I've received some feedback from some of my constituents saying, we have a lot of car washes already in Florissant, and in this area in general, we have 2 others near that intersection, plus a do-it-yourself car wash behind the Planet Fitness, if that's the right term for it. So the feeling is that we're kind of already saturated with those. Do you have any thoughts on that? What is your opinion on that?
Well, I can let Scott speak to it if you wish, but yeah.
Okay, sure, no problem.
If you can, please state your name.
Yeah, Scott Holland with Brightworks. I'm the Director of Operations. So we have a lot at stake to make this successful. So nobody is more vested than our company as we look to invest about $6 million in that property. So we are confident that it's not saturated. As I said in the planning and zoning review, this is definitely the corner of Main and Main. This is one of the busiest sections, or busiest intersections in the city with lots of car traffic. Our goal in the car wash business is to capture cars that are already going by. So all we have to do is capture 1% to 2% of the cars that are already going by, and we will be successful. So while there is other car wash opportunities, nothing is better than the Brightworks experience. You see it in the video with the belt, substantially different than what Tiger Wash or Club Car Wash now offers with their chain and roller, and also different than the Take 5 is going to offer when they open. So we are the better option. We use centralized vacuum system, which is a little bit different than we have at our other sites, so a much more powerful vacuum, more consistent. So that's why, that's how we know we're going to be successful and the investment that we're making in the site. One thing that Kevin didn't mention that's a lot different than most presentations that are made to you is most of the presentations are with board approval. We'll close on the property and we'll own it. In this case, we already own the property. So we have a vested stake in putting a proposal together that'll be successful for the city and for Brightworks and for Wallace companies, and then living up to that and making it successful. So.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have for now.
All right, thank you, Councilman Sion. Councilman Manganelli.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hello, Mr. Camp. My only concern with this is taking up the parking lot, that percentage of parking lot. You also have the traffic from Chick-fil-A. I worry about how this would impact future development of the former Kmart building. Would there be enough parking available?
So, yeah, I think the days of the big box retailers have probably long shifted, and I think Bill Barnes is here from Desco, and he can probably speak more intelligently about a lot of that. But the idea of one, the traffic flow, is we feel like the additional entrance does add some flexibility for the users of now a multi kind of use facility. There still will be, with each piece of that development along, the requirement that parking be met and that, that those traffic circulation things be reviewed. So as far as taking away the parking that's completely unused at this point, I think there's got to be a shift in what gets developed there. I will say, as Scott mentioned, there's they own this parcel now, and they're in, and they're local. And so they have an interest not only with their investment already in Florissant, but with doubling down here, that they're going to continue to try to find those users that fit well, not only here and want to be here, but that also will mesh well with the adjacent shopping centers, which offer some of those other options.
Okay. All righty. Yeah, and as and understanding how many cars drive down, it's over 100,000 cars that drive down Lindbergh a day. I mean, yes, it's another car wash right there, but I do believe you when you say that you'll be able to capture enough cars to make it a go at that location. I've heard also people worrying about having too many there. They never say anything about having too many insurance agents on the same street, though. I got 5 on my street, so I don't think you'll be a problem with the community, with the apartments that are close by. I don't think. I think like I said, my biggest worry is future development. So I think you've answered that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Manganelli. Councilman Caputo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you have your own contractors that you use?
There's generally there's a couple GCs that they've been using as the company has grown, and so that there'll be a general contractor involved that will kind of run the construction.
Are they local contractors, or are they ones that you have nationwide that come in and travel?
Okay, so Wallace is a local company based in Cuba, Missouri, and do things here in the eastern part of Missouri. The contractors that they use are generally all local folks, and so that they do the mobile on the run as well as the Brightworks and some of their other.
I always suggest we're a labor-friendly community here, and to use contractors that are signatory to the St. Louis building trades. I know on the last Brightworks they did have a few little problems with some non-signatory contractors. It won't happen again. And we'll see. And and this shows good face to the public, that you guys do use signatory contractors. So that's all I would suggest. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Parson. I have similar concerns about the fragmentation of the property. I think you said that you considered splitting the property prior to into different parcels. I'd like to hear more about that back and forth and how that went.
Yeah. Okay. And let me you might be referring to, like, a couple years ago, this property was owned by a company called Seritage.
Yes.
We approached them similar like the Chick-fil-A did. They said, hey, we want to build a pad here. So we discussed several different iterations with them, and ultimately we couldn't come to a deal with them to buy just a smaller parcel. And Mark can get into the details. Actually, I'm just going to tell the whole story.
Thanks.
I'm going to mess it up.
That'd be great.
So Seritage, I'm Mark Jordan. I'm with Wallace Companies. So Seritage tried to sell an outlot, and they got to a point where they were talking to us about the outlot, and they were talking to U-Haul about taking over the Kmart building for storage. So they kind of told us, we've got somebody to buy the whole thing. The U-Haul deal fell apart, and they came back to us, and they said, we'll sell it, but you got to buy the whole thing. The property, so when the Chick-fil-A and then the auto parts on the other shopping center, when those were built as outlots, there's an agreement that covers both shopping centers. It's called the tri-party agreement. There's really only two parties left. That agreement limits the change in parking spaces between the two parties. They each reciprocally approved the Chick-fil-A and the auto parts store. We don't yet have the approval of the owner of the Planet Fitness Center, but the parking lot couldn't be changed. So what we realized is Chick-fil-A or Seritage really couldn't sell this. So and we told them we would do it, but we'd need the time to get all of the different approvals. There are restrictions that Chick-fil-A placed on it in their memorandum of lease with Seritage, and then Seritage subsequently sold that lot to Four Corners Property Trust, and it was recorded in the deed. Those restrictions limit what the remaining center can be used for, and they're an interesting company. There's restaurants restricted, alcohol restricted, most entertainment venues restricted. So as we've looked at this, and we've had conversations with city staff, we have gotten a quote, a bid to tear that building down. It most likely couldn't be saved anyway. The roof is gone, it rains inside, and it's simply not going to be developable as a 120,000 square foot box, other than storage, and nobody really wants that. We don't really want that either. So we don't have it approved yet. It's circulating in our company, but I expect that we'll get that approval to demolish that building. Then we have green fields, and we can essentially kind of reconfigure this part of the center so that we can get, it will most likely going to be one or two kind of, individual pad type users. To tell you who that is at this point, I don't know. But navigating the restrictions is going to be a challenge because Chick-fil-A has, I've spent a lot of time with them. They are in agreement with this plan. They want some things to adjust their site. They want some more parking spaces for pickup, curbside type stuff. But their restrictions also, there's dedicated easements that they have for their access. And that's what, on this drawing we're showing kind of a new access between the triangle piece of property, and that would then route them through that side rather than the original easement that they have down here goes across here. So that had to get moved. And I think most of you probably know, but the pit crew is in the process of moving out. I went by there this afternoon. There's still some stuff that has to get moved out. But that kind of solves one of the challenges with this property in that they still had term left on their lease. So, does that answer your question?
That's helping me get there.
Okay.
Were there any additional restrictions placed during the sale of this parcel to Wallace Properties?
Not any additional, Seritage didn't have any restrictions. It was everything that was already of record.
Okay, and then I was going to ask you about the demolition of the building because I think that's a big piece and kind of shows commitment to redeveloping the whole parcel rather than just using it for the car wash.
No, I mean, we couldn't, I wouldn't tell you we couldn't have made it work, but we knew we couldn't leave the building the way it is. It's in horrible shape.
Right.
So
I don't know if it's possible, but to make that a condition of the approval, this might be a legal sort of question.
Yeah, I'm not an attorney.
Ms. Graves, would it be possible to make the demolition of the building a condition of the approval for a B5? Okay. I'm interested in knowing the answer to that. Yeah, because that's been sitting there a long time. It would be a positive thing if that could be done. Otherwise, if it's not, or if it's not approved, then I'm fearful that it will sit there for a lot longer.
From our point of view now, that's the reason why we went out and got the bid. We think that the land that is underneath it is worth more than the cost to demolish it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's kind of what we're after. I mean, I think it might have been, if it wasn't quite so far. There was another company that was bidding in the auction that was a storage place. They really wanted it. They called us right afterwards, and that would have been simpler from our point of view, just to be able to just sell it to them, but it didn't. It wouldn't. I don't know that the owner of the other center, he has not yet agreed to modify that tri-party agreement. I need him to do that. So I think he has basically said, I don't really want, if there's not going to be something happening with the Kmart building, I really don't want you to build a car wash. Now, the agreement doesn't really have anything to do with what we build. It has to do with just the parking spaces. But it's effective in that he gives him a little bit of leverage.
Yeah.
If I say to him, okay, so we share a common party wall with you at the connection of your center and the Kmart building, we're going to take all that down, and whatever we put there, whatever business is going to go there, is going to be more traffic than you're getting today.
Mm-hmm. I think it's the same conversation that we're having here.
It is. His interests are more, everybody's looking at it from the standpoint of what's the potential for this thing, and we're willing to take the time to find users that work, but the restrictions, I brought them with me if you want to see them.
I'm interested in it.
There's no sporting type, no off-track betting. You can have a restaurant as long as it doesn't sell 25% of it chicken, or sell 50% of revenues alcoholic beverages. No bars. So they reflect, I think, Chick-fil-A's values, but they're numerous, and so you got to navigate to find a couple of users that fit within that framework. And
do those any of those conditions, do they sunset at some point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether they're binding perpetually, I don't know, but it's not been long enough where I think at this point Chick-fil-A could probably defend them if you violated them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not to say that if we find something we can't ask Chick-fil-A. They've been great to work with. They're a professional organization. They've got folks that they first came back and said, well, we do make exceptions, but there's an ask. And I said, well, what would that be? And so we got into it, and I presented some options, and they said, yeah, that might work. And then they came back and said, well, we have some of our own asks. We've agreed to those, provided we can get this done, and they know that we're going through this process. So we can certainly ask and say,
okay,
this is part of the restrictions, but you want those things, how about we trade?
Yeah, this has been helpful. Thank you. And also thank you for having a conversation with city staff about it as well, because I wondered about that.
We've actually worked with 3 economic development directors now.
Wow, all 3 that I've
We've
known.
been here a while.
Okay. All right, thanks so much.
Any more questions for me?
I do actually have a question. Thank you, Councilman Harris. I'm just trying to get more, I guess, some insight and understanding as to why this area has been chosen for another car wash. I know you mentioned you guys mentioned the number of cars that go by that area, but you just went through a whole list of issues that you guys have to deal with in terms of restrictions. You've got this building that has a tenant in it. You've got 2 other car washes that are in the area. It sounds like an awful lot of challenges. So what really goes into the thoughts and your formula when you said I'm gonna put a car wash here in Florissant?
So I guess the first we bought it at an auction, and as much as Seritage told us there'd be a lot of people interested, we don't think there were. So we bought it reasonably inexpensively. So that helps. To demo the building is I won't get into the details, but 50% of what we paid for the whole site. So while the wash, Scott wouldn't want to have that investment all in the wash, but I do think that there's an opportunity that we can come out with a lower land cost in that wash if we can find the right users for what is basically under the 120,000 square feet of building. As far as why another one here, we bought the old Commerce Bank at the wash that was in that video. And in fact, his firm represented Commerce Bank when we bought it. Commerce Bank is our lender. And it is still our best performing wash today. So this is a good market for us, and that up there is a great intersection for it. So there's been an awful lot of car washes getting built in St. Louis in the last 5 to 10 years. That is starting to change. We get phone calls from people now all the time. A lot of it has been outside money. St. Louis County has passed an ordinance that wants to restrict where these can go because particularly in South County, they're so prolific. They probably didn't need to do that because I think the market will correct itself. There's already a bunch of them that are looking to get out.
Okay,
we're here. We run them. We didn't use private equity to go out and pay for them all. We built them with our own money. And I think in the end, our model is going to be the one that prevails.
I noticed that Mr. Kemp stated earlier that you guys have several other ones. I mean, you started with one, now you have several other ones here in the St. Louis metropolitan area. How many do you guys have right now?
6.
6.
I'm counting this one as 7.
Now it's a course of how many years?
This was the first one, and it's 8 years old? Yeah.
8 years.
Yeah, we didn't go fast because I also do our on the runs and our dirt cheaps, so we have multiple different concept that we're developing, and I don't really have any help on the real estate side.
I understand. Okay. Thank you so much. Before we close this public hearing, is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment on this public hearing? You may come forward, Mr. Jones.
Okay, I'm Lou Geralds. I live at 1355 Swallow Lane, Florissant, Missouri, 63031. Mr. President, honorable members of City Council, Mayor Lowry, although I serve on the Florissant Planning and Zoning Commission and I voted for approval of this rezoning request, I am here in an unofficial capacity and as a resident to request that the City Council carefully consider several factors concerning this rezoning request. To help this go better, I'm going to put some glasses on. First, three areas basically. First, the rezoning request involves 9.748 acres, Lot 1, of which only 1.46 acres, about 15%, is being improved. So several questions come to mind. Why rezone the entire parcel when we have no idea what's going to be proposed for the remaining 85% of the parcel? It's almost like buying a pig in a poke. However, in briefly discussing this with Phil Lum, our building commissioner, it may be to our mutual advantage to rezone the entire parcel. If we rezone the entire parcel, then we do address, when do we address internal traffic issues, parking lot lighting, internal signage, green space, landscaping, trash enclosures, stormwater detention or retention, temporary buildings, accessory structures, and other issues. In talking with MSD, if we rezone the entire parcel, they will address stormwater for the entire parcel. Likewise, we should also address, at a minimum, landscaping, green space, breaking up the sea of asphalt, parking lot lighting, and possibly other issues for the entire parcel as well. There is no guarantee that the remaining 85% of this parcel will be redeveloped in the near future, as much as I like to believe that it will be, but it could sit there for another 10, 15 years or longer. So now is our opportunity. The P&Z motion is to approve this rezoning contains some language to require any and all changes to be brought before P&Z for approval and possibly to go to the City Council for approval. However, since only a small percentage of this parcel is being developed, there will undoubtedly be numerous changes. And some of those numerous changes may well be minor changes, which could be approved administratively by our building commissioner, resulting in a final site development plan that P&Z will never see. In short, there are a lot of unknowns that both P&Z and the City Council do not have the opportunity to address here today. However, today we have the opportunity to address some of these issues that will make this parcel and our city more presentable. Second item is traffic issue for both vehicular and pedestrian. Both should also be considered in some detail. An additional curb cut for the new entrance and exit driveway is proposed on New Hulls Ferry Road, which is not actually required for the car wash, nor is there any guarantee that St. Louis County Highway Department will grant their approval. I believe that the new driveway is primarily at the request of Chick-fil-A. The car wash folks will primarily be coming at the other third exit down a ways right there at Kmart. However, St. Louis County may grant approval for several reasons and under several conditions. They may only approve a right-in or a right-out. They may request additional right-of-way along New Hulls Ferry Road. They may require new sidewalks along the entire parcel connecting the sidewalk at Bank of America to the north and the sidewalk with Aspen Dental to the south, which I think is a good idea. They may also require improved green space between that new sidewalk and the curb, which will improve the appearance of the shopping center. The third item is cross-access, which was discussed briefly. Good planning practices strongly suggest that when you have several parcels at a major shopping center, like this one, that each parcel provide cross-access to the other parcels. Currently, there is good access, cross-access with several parcels, except from the corner lot at Aspen and Mod Pizza. Cross-access allows traffic to safely go from one area of the shopping center to the other without having to go back out on a busy street, or a highway in this case, to re-enter the same shopping center just a short distance down the road. For instance, you cannot go from Burger King to Aspen Dental, which are just neighboring parcels, without getting back out on the Lindbergh, or North Highway 67. You can't go from Delta Dental, or Aspen Dental, to any other part of the shopping center without going back out on the New Hulls Ferry, which is poor planning. So I don't know where we dropped the ball, but we dropped the ball somewhere. We have the opportunity now to require cross-access between Aspen Dental and Burger King, and between Aspen Dental and the rest of the shopping center. On a positive note, this request coincides with our comprehensive master plan for the city. The petitioner attempted to meet our masonry ordinance at a 46% level. They've got a lot of glass on the property, on the buildings. And they moved the proposed shopping center sign back a fair distance from the right-of-way. So in summary, I respectfully request that the City Council consider the following, 3 items basically. If the entire parcel is rezoned to B5, then address landscaping, green space and parking lot lighting, pavement repairs, and other basic code issues. Second thing is, regardless of what St. Louis County Highway Department does, and for the health, safety, and welfare of our residents and any visitors to the city, I suggest we require a sidewalk from New Hulls Ferry, along New Hulls Ferry, from Bank of America to Aspen Dental, and also require improved green space between this new sidewalk and the street curb. Again, I think it will greatly enhance the appearance of the shopping center and our city at one of the most busiest intersections in our city. And then third thing is provide access, cross-access to and from all parcels as suggested above. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jarrell. I have a question. You had a lot of recommendations, but and I'd like to see those in writing. Is there any way you can? Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
You got them.
I didn't know if the whole. Did you send it to the whole council, or you just have?
I just.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance to review it. I have a short attention span sometimes, so.
I understand. I'm getting there myself.
But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Mr. Harris, I do see your light is on, and I missed it earlier, but I would like to have Mr. Kemp have an opportunity to respond to Mr. Jarrell first real quick, and then I'll come to you.
So just a couple different things, and first of all, thank you, because we did work fairly well with P&Z to try to get through a lot of different things. So the choice to rezone the entire parcel was that of a collaborative decision with city staff, and it is for the purpose that when anything changes and the rest of the 80% or so of the parcel gets redeveloped, that all has to come back. You know, and as far as having cross-access required, we're not platting this out. We have about 1.46 acre area that will be the first thing to be redeveloped. But as it is platted, that is something that is definitely being considered. The hope is that we do create cross-access between some of these other adjacent lots where we can. The problem is we're at a chicken and egg. And this parcel of land has been in a chicken and egg for more than a decade. Nobody can get into there to make something start to happen. And I think Wallace's commitment to Florissant and its desire to not let this site go and have a site here and been working on this for several years shows that commitment. The problem is something's got to happen first. And so that's why we presented it the way we presented it. And I think if it's, you know, more simplistic things of connecting the sidewalk initially, I don't think that starts to bind up the rest of the parcel. But we want to be careful that we leave that with the restrictions considered that are in Chick-fil-A and with some of the other agreements we've got to navigate in order to make something happen. We need to maintain some flexibility for the balance of that ground. And so that's why we went with this B5. We all get to do this together as partners into this community. And so, that, you know, I just want to caution that I don't want to tie too much of the property with all the other restrictions. That we got to go to, you know, if it's just demolishing the building, we can consider that, as Mark said, you know, but then to start cutting up the pavement and doing all this and trying to predict what is going to happen, I think will actually could potentially be to the detriment. And I think the city is protected in the application for a B5 because it will be tied to the specific plan. If that specific plan changes, we're here again to ask for that change.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kent. I'm going to go back to Mr. Harris.
Thank you.
Question?
Yes. And the question I have is about Adesco. What is Adesco's interest in the property? And this may be, I may have missed this.
The name of the company is NAI Desco.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see. So that's all connected. Wallace and
No.
no.
Desco has been helping Wallace for many years with several different property types of things.
I see. So it's consultative, really.
They're the broker, and the
Okay.
hope is that we can get this across the goal line so Bill Barnes and his team can take this out to market and say, hey, retailers, you fit. They can help us digest the list of restrictions to understand those who are in the market who could potentially come here. And we're going to work with economic development to make
Okay. Sounds future thinking.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Appreciate that insight. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Is there anybody else in the... Oh, I'm sorry.
Could I ask one more question? I didn't ask this of Phil, but when we granted a B5 to Aspen Dental and Mod Pizza, did we mention at all about cross-access agreements? Because if we did, in their B5, and now we are doing it in this B5, can't that be a impetus for both of them to get together, you know?
I can totally shed some light on that because this is one of the kind of weird parts about this parcel. Hopefully I typed my password incorrectly. Okay, so there is, in fact, a requirement that Aspen Dental, let me zoom in here, I think it's control. Yes, I guessed right. There is a requirement in their B5 that they provide cross-access to this adjacent parcel, which is this triangle piece that's right here. So the B5 we're requesting is on this pink parcel, if you will. So they're required to provide access to this triangle, but that is not part of this overall parcel quite yet. It's part of these things that we're trying to navigate through.
So my question is, can the city council request a review of their B5 in light of wanting this cross-access to actually happen?
Council?
Hold on. If the county doesn't approve that driveway, that entryway doesn't really work terribly well.
Well, we're still looking at cross-access.
We are, but you're going to dump it out, and it doesn't go anywhere to the south. They end up looping all the way around that and back to get out. So the reason I've talked to the owner, and Phil and I talked about this 2-3 years ago. We used to own that piece where Bob.
Sir, I'm sorry. Can you come forward so everyone can hear you? I apologize for that.
I've been doing this particular corner for like 20 years. We used to own what is now Mod Pizza. That was an old mobile station. It was ours. We sold it to a developer. That triangular piece was included in what we bought. And so I've talked to them. She reached out to Phil. Phil called me, and I've talked to her. Her father passed away, and she didn't know about that. But I'd like to be able to make sure that driveway is approved by the county, because having their easement requirement is up by their dumpster enclosure in the back. That's what the city placed on their approval. That's not going to work. The right way to do it is where their drive lane cuts across and then tie it into that street. Otherwise, they come out and they're literally just going to take a back alley to get around the Burger King and go out the entrance on Lindbergh. So that's kind of that flexibility. She wants it, and quite honestly, we'd like to have it too, because if people are on that corner and they want to get over here to get the car wash, we'd love to have them instead of having them loop back out and go around.
Okay. Mr. Lum, you have a response. And Ms. Pagano, I will be coming to you. I see that you have a question. Okay.
Thank you. Phil Lum, Building Commissioner. A few brief points. What Mr. Jordan is saying is that when this Mod Pizza was developed, the easement that exists today is located right here. You can see this little square that doesn't have any parking spaces. That's where the easement is currently. I believe Planning and Zoning discussed this dashed in potential easement, but they're still negotiating with Mod Pizza for that. Yes, it's almost coincidentally, the people from Mod Pizza contacted my office and said, is there any way that we can propose access to the rest of or to Kmart, basically, not knowing that there was a separate parcel here and a gigantic parcel here. Wallace has bought both. I was going to make 3 points, also 3 brief points about B5. Responding to some of the things Mr. Gerald said, let's review B5, for instance. For over a generation, we know that B5 has been proposed and discussed as replacing a lot of the B3s in the city. The purpose for a B5 is to custom design every square foot of the site. Not like a special use permit, although that's a little different. An example of a building that's not B5 is the auto parts store that was just built on the adjacent site, AutoZone. If you all remember that, it came before Planning and Zoning for aesthetic review, and some were surprised that there was not either a special use, because an auto parts store is a permitted use, not a use that would require its construction. Another example would be on Deerberg's lot, the Clarkson Eye Care. That building was built on a B3 without rezoning to B5. So those 2 examples are examples of buildings that could be built not necessarily with a ordinance. Then, however, B5 gives the council more control in another way, is that there's a lot more drawing requirements. Thirdly, a lot more drawing requirements for a B5 than any other type of project. You can just look at the checklist that follows the B5 application and see all those enumerated items that staff has to check and that I advise consultants on, that you're going to have to meet this checklist and you're going to have to provide more documents regarding photometrics and circulation and et cetera. So I think you do have a lot more control on a B5.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Long. All right, Councilwoman Pagano.
Yes, my question is, you own this piece of property, we want a car wash. If by chance this does not pass council, is there a plan B?
Is there a plan B for the parcel?
The property.
We don't know what that is. Because, I mean, really what's going to drive any change happening to the parcel is really what the and they weren't out to buy the whole parcel. It's just the circumstance evolved, and that's where we're at. So if there's not the opportunity to develop the wash, there's not that first thing that then gives the funding and begins the return in order to make everything else happen.
But there's no guarantee either way, even if the car wash went in, that there'd be guarantee that things would happen. I mean, I'm just...
Yeah.
Right? No, I don't know.
I mean, there is no guarantee. I mean, the nicety for the city's perspective is you have a local company who's committed to the city, who's saying, these are the things we want to do, this is the part we want, and we want to work together to make the rest happen. And that's the best there is. I mean, it's, I would say, better than a gamble because they have proven success in what they're doing.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah. And actually, one point about the cross-access, too, is just, again, to reiterate, I don't want to put ourselves in a position where we're starting to tie ourselves into requirements that then prohibit this thing kind of moving forward. So, like, does this entrance get approved as is, and then does it work with Chick-fil-A, and then going back around and through and then creating the mod pizza thing? I just want to be very careful that we don't start putting ourselves in another box because we're already inside like 3 or 4 of them. So.
Thank you, Mr. Camp. Again, I guess I'll state before we close this public hearing, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to comment on the public hearing? Okay, you may come forward. Just please state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, Board. My name is Barbara Mitchell, and my address is 17849 Argonne Estates Drive. As you probably guessed with that address, I'm not in the city of Florissant proper. However, I'm part of the old Jamestown community. And the reason I came today was to express my concern, and I don't have anything bad to say about Brightworks. Yes, they have the latest and greatest innovation. They do take care of the property down further on Lindbergh. As a matter of fact, I used it today. So I don't have any problem with that. My concern is, what do we want our community to look like? And Lindbergh is the major thoroughfare. And what I see today is car washes, auto parts, auto repair. I don't see things that would be conducive to the community, such as community services, like a healthy grocery store, some finer restaurants. That's what Florissant deserves. So I didn't come with anything prepared, but I just want to say that I think we really need to take in consideration, what do we really want our community to look like? Okay? That's pretty much all I have. And this is coming not just from me, but for our whole, the community where I live, as well as other people that I talk to and run into. And you've heard it 100 times, I'm sure. We don't need any more car washes on Lindbergh. And if you start at 367 and come down Highway 67, you can count multiple car washes, as well as those auto parts and the tire places. We don't have that many cars that need a car wash every day. Yeah, there may be 100,000 cars going up and down that corridor, that passageway, the Newhouse Ferry in Lindbergh, but all of those people don't need car washes every day. But what they do need are services to help them and their families. And then to shine a better light on our community where people are not moving somewhere else where they can get that. I'm here to stay. We've been here for over 25, 27 some years. We love Florissant, but we just don't want it to go the other way, if you will. Okay? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Okay, seeing no further comments, Councilman O'Donnell moves to close this public hearing, seconded by Councilman Caputa. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, this motion is carried, and this public hearing is closed. Next item on the agenda is old business. The first item is bills for second reading. Bill number 9883. Councilman Shildroff moves for a second reading, seconded by Councilman Manganelli. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance authorizing an amendment to Table 13B, parking prohibited at certain locations at all times by adding thereto portion of St. Patrick Lane.
Councilman Shildroff moves for a third reading, seconded by Councilman Caputa. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Ordinance authorizing an amendment to Table 13B, parking prohibited at certain locations at all times by adding thereto a portion of St. Patrick Lane.
Okay, before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this bill? Okay, hearing none. Clerk, can you please poll the council?
Harris? Yes. Manganelli?
Yes.
Caputa? Yes. Shildroth?
Yes.
O'Donnell? Yes. Pagano? Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
That bill passes and becomes ordinance number 8886. I knew that. Next item on the agenda is new business. First item under new business is board appointments. There's none that we have. Mayor has. Sorry.
Thank you. I wish to appoint Gabriella Garbero to the Disability Awareness Commission.
Move to approve by Councilwoman Pagano, seconded by Councilman Manganelli. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that appointment is made.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Next item on the agenda are resolutions. We have resolution number 1050.
Resolution of the Florissant City Council adopting a change to the benefit program of covered employees, changing benefit program L12 in accordance with 7655 RSMO.
Okay, Councilman Siam moves for a second reading, seconded by Councilman Manganelli. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, as a part of the logger's requirements for changes to the plan, please make the 45-day notice that was posted on April the 19th of 2023 in the actuarial report part of the record. Okay, all in favor of second reading?
You lost.
I'm sorry, guys. Anybody opposed? Okay.
Resolution of the Florissant City Council adopting the change to benefit program of covered employees, changing the benefit program L12 in accordance with 7655 RSMO. Sorry.
Councilman Caputo moves for a third reading, seconded by Councilman O'Donnell. Roll call vote, please.
Harris? Yes. Manganelli? Yes. Caputa? Yes. Shildroth?
Yes.
O'Donnell? Yes. Pagano? Yes. Parson?
Yes.
Siam. Resolution of the Florissant City Council adopting a change to the benefit program of covered employees, changing the benefit program L12 in accordance with 7655 RSMO.
Okay, before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this resolution? Okay, hearing none. Clerk, can you please poll the council?
Harris? Yes. Manganelli? Yes. Caputa? Yes. Shildroth?
Yes.
O'Donnell?
Yes.
Pagano? Yes. Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
Okay, resolution number 1050 passes. Next, we have resolution number 1051.
Resolution supporting a grant for round 24 of the municipal grant program for relocation of a park maintenance shed at St. Ferdinand with the addition of a band shell.
Councilman Caputo moves for a second reading, seconded by Councilwoman Pagano. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed?
Resolution supporting a grant for round 24 of the municipal grant program for relocation of park maintenance shed at St. Ferdinand with the addition of a band shell.
Councilman Caputo moves for a third reading, seconded by Councilman Siam. Roll call vote, please.
Harris? Yes. Manganelli? Yes. Caputa? Yes. Shildroth?
Yes.
O'Donnell? Yes. Pagano? Yes. Parson?
Yes.
Siam? Resolution supporting a grant for round 24 of the municipal grant program for the relocation of park maintenance shed at St. Ferdinand with the addition of a band shell.
Okay, before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this resolution? Okay, hearing none. Clerk, can you please poll the council?
Sir. Harris? Yes. Manganelli? Yes. Caputa? Yes. Shildroth?
Yes.
O'Donnell? Yes. Pagano? Yes. Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
Okay, resolution number 1051 passes. Next, we have resolution number 1052.
Resolution of the City of Florissant City Council endorsing the St. Louis County's grant program for the city's waste reduction efforts.
Councilman Siam moves for a second reading, seconded by Councilwoman Pagano. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Resolution of the City of Florissant City Council endorsing St. Louis County's grant program for the city's waste reduction efforts.
Okay, Councilman O'Donnell moves for a third reading, seconded by Councilman Shildroth. Roll call vote, please.
Harris? Yes. Manganelli? Yes. Caputa? Yes. Shildroth? Yes. O'Donnell? Yes. Pagano? Yes. Parson?
Yes.
Siam? Yes. Resolution of the City of Florissant City Council endorsing St. Louis County's grant program for the city's waste reduction efforts.
Okay, before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this resolution? Okay, hearing none. Clerk, can you please poll the council for the final vote?
Harris? Yes. Manganelli? Yes. Caputa? Yes. Shildroth?
Yes.
O'Donnell?
Yes.
Pagano? Yes. Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
All right, resolution number 1052 passes. Next on the agenda, we have bills for first reading. We have bill number 9884.
Ordinance approving an agreement with St. Louis County, Missouri regarding the placement of license plate recognition cameras within the rights-of-way maintained by St. Louis County within the city of Florissant, Missouri.
Councilman Shildroth moves for a second reading. That's seconded by Councilwoman Pagano. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Ordinance approving an agreement with St. Louis County, Missouri regarding the placement of license plate recognition cameras within the rights-of-way maintained by St. Louis County within the city of Florissant, Missouri.
Councilman Shildroth moves for a third reading, seconded by Councilwoman Pagano. Roll call vote, please.
Harris? Yes. Manganelli? Yes. Caputa? Yes. Shildroth? Yes. O'Donnell? Yes. Pagano? Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
Before the final vote is taken,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
Ordinance, you're getting excited. Ordinance approving an agreement with St. Louis County, Missouri regarding the placement of license plate recognition cameras within the rights-of-way maintained by St. Louis County within the city of Florissant, Missouri.
Okay, now, before the final vote is taken, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this bill? Okay, hearing none. Clerk, can you please poll the council for the final vote?
Harris? Yes. Manganelli? Yes. Caputa? Yes. Shildroth? Yes. O'Donnell? Yes. Pagano? Yes. Parson?
Yes.
Siam?
Bill number 9884 passes and becomes ordinance number 8887. Next, we have bill number 9885.
Ordinance to rezone the property located at number 1 Flower Valley Shopping Center from B3 Extensive Business District to B5 Planned Commercial District to allow for a car wash. Brightworks.
Okay, next we have on the agenda council announcements. Let's start with Councilman Shildroth.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to tell the residents about two terrific programs being offered at the St. Louis County Library on Florissant Road at the Florissant Valley Branch. One is a summer lunch program that will run from June 5th through August 18th for children 18 and under, Monday through Friday from noon to 1. And you just must eat the lunch that they serve on site available, and it's free of charge. You need to make a reservation so they could get a good count for the day. That number is 314-994-3300. St. Louis County is also offering a community resource initiative which features social workers. They will help people remove the barriers of accessing social services in our neighborhood. Hours are Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And please call for an appointment or for more information. It's 314-994-3300. Those are two really good programs, free of charge. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilman Shildroff. Next, we have Councilman Manganelli.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. President. I have here is Mayor Tim Lowry is pleased to announce that the Knights of Columbus Duchesne Council number 2951 in the city of Florissant is co-sponsoring the next Florissant Food Truck Night event on this Friday, June 16th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. near the old St. Ferdinand Shrine located at 50 Rue St. Francis. Plenty of parking coming in off of Washington. Dave and Blake will be the live entertainment for the evening. And the truck lineup for the evening is Man Meats, Angie Burger, Truck Norris, Soul Taco, Picture Perfect Panini, Crooked Boot, Destination Desserts, the Tamale Man, and Doughboys Wood-Fired Pizza. Proceeds benefit the Knights of Columbus charitable efforts and the Teen Food Pantry. For that, we will be having a canned food drive that evening as well. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Councilman Manganelli. Next, we have Councilman Caputa.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, this Wednesday, June 14th, is Flag Day, so put your flags out. Be proud of the good old red, white, and blue. Then Sunday is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, especially all the fathers that are in the military that are deployed. I know it's hard being a father and being deployed, so happy Father's Day to you guys. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Councilman Caputa. Next, we have our message from the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Parson. First is the 2023 Veteran of the Year will be selected by the previous recipients of the awards. And applications for this honor will be available at VFW Post 4105 at 410 Rue St. Francis Street or online at florissantmo.com/veterans. The city of Florissant will be co-hosting the 20th Annual St. Louis Cardinals Blood Drive. That's going to be on Tuesday, June the 13th, tomorrow, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. This Sunday, which is also, as Mr. Caputa announced, is also Father's Day. However, we are also going to be celebrating a Juneteenth celebration. We're going to have a music festival at St. Ferdinand Park from 2 to 6 at St. Ferdinand Park. Please come and join us. We're co-hosting several other events with the other North County municipalities. This is our event that we're having here in the city of Florissant. The Hispanic Festival returns to Florissant. It's going to be at the Duchesne Home Association, formerly the Knights of Columbus grounds, at the corner of Lindbergh and Washington. The event's going to take place on Saturday, June 24th from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and on Sunday, June 25th from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Always a great event. On June 28th, we will have a plaque dedication. This will be for the late Harold, Bud, and Bernice Foley, which will be our 52nd plaque. And it's going to be directly across here from City Hall, so please attend that. It's a great event. And of course, we will have our 4th of July celebration, which will be at the Egan Center. That'll start at 7:15 with a concert by the Well Hungarians band, and then the fireworks display will be at 9:15. That's all I have, Mr. Parson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The next regular meeting for the City Council will be on Monday, June the 26th, of course, at 7 p.m. Councilman Harris moves to adjourn the regular meeting, seconded by Councilman Manganelli. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Good job.
We're finally even.